Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Christian of the Lisa Christian Atelier brand. On today's episode of Mastering the Art of Garment Construction, we'll be studying straight skirts and pencil skirts. I'm about to show us how to make a straight skirt. Thereafter, I will show us how to make a pencil skirt, or rather how to cut a straight skirt on pattern or on paper. Alright, so assuming this is my fabric, you can see I've folded this paper. You fold your fabric that way. This point forms the center of your waist, the center of your waist at the front, the center front of your waist. I have segmented this fabric or segmented this paper. This line forms the waistline, this line forms the hip line, and this line forms the fitting line. From the waistline, 9 inches from the waistline is our hip line, and 17 inches from the waistline is our fitting line. I'm using a waist measurement of 28 and hip measurement of 40. Assuming my client's waist is 28, the formula we use here is waist divided by 4 plus 2.5 and hip divided by 4 plus 2.5. Assuming my client's waistline is 28, I'll say 28 divided by 4, that's 7. 7 plus 2.5, that's 9.5. If I measure this, you'll find out that's exactly what it is. So this is 9.5. I come to the hip line. We have hip divided by 4 plus 2.5. My hip is 40. 40 divided by 4, that's 10. 10 plus 2.5, that is 12.5. So this is it. So for my straight skirt, I'm just bothered about the waistline and the hip line. I'll still insert the same hip measurement at my fitting line and to the end. So that means here is going to be 12.5 as well. And the end of my skirt is also going to be 12.5 as well. Whatever is the length of your skirt, I always encourage my students to include 2 inches downwards to the length of the skirt for either folding with lining, folding it however you want to hem your skirt. I like to add extra 2 inches regardless of whatever length I have decided to take as the length of the skirt for my client. So at this point, what do? We join the lines together. Okay, this ruler is actually broken. All right, it's supposed to be like this. All right, so I connect this line to this curve like this, and I connect this to this like this, and the same thing to the end. So this is my straight skirt. This is my straight. For our pencil skirts, it's just the same procedure. Your waist, your hip measurement inserted here plus 2.5, and your fitting measurement inserted here plus 2.5. But for the pencil skirt, at our fitting line, we can choose depending on how curved you want your skirt or to be fitted rather. You can decide to come in at the fitting line by say ½ inch, and towards the end of your skirt as well by say ½ inch. We connect the lines and we connect the lines. So you can see the drifting. This is a fitted skirt. I could as well decide to take this by 1 inch from here. So rather than taking half, I could decide to take this as 1 inch. I could decide to take this as 1 inch. And the longer my skirt goes, I could also decide to drift the more as well. So this becomes a penciled, because the female body is not so straight, it has curves. We need to include our darts in the skirt, otherwise the center front will be bulky and behind will also be bulky and sagging. How do you generate your dart? I once told us during the first session of body measurement about across chest, nipple difference and all of that. I'd love to use the nipple difference. If your nipple difference is 8, for instance, you're going to say that is the distance between one nipple to the other is 8. You're going to take 8 divided by 2, 4. That means your dart line is going to be 4. But because of the inclusion of seam allowance, we'll say 4 plus ½ inch. That gives me 4.5. Some people love to take their dart, that is 4.5 all through. Some people love to take their dart way long as 7 inches, but I love to do 6 inches. So I'm just going to stop at 6 inches there. This is 4.5. I draw my straight line. So this becomes my dart line. My dart is supposed to be 4 inches, but inclusive of my seam allowance, I make it 4.5. So I connect this allowance. So we're having something such as this. So when this is being sewn or folded, however the case may be, we'll be having something like this. Whatever you do to this point, you do it behind, because this is a skirt and the front is expected to have 2 darts. So when this would have been sewn, this is what we're going to be having, something like this. So this is the center front of the skirt. This is just half of the front. So you have something like this here, and you have something like this around here. That is this for the skirt. So the same way you placed your dart in front, that's the same way you're going to place your dart behind. But the difference between this is that you're going to create room for zip allowance. You're going to create room for zip allowance. So I'd like to take either 1 inch or 1.5. Say this is 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. I'm going to take this way down to the end of my skirt. This is 1.5 inches way down. I'm also going to include the darts. Look at where this dart is. Means on this back piece, the dart will also be somewhere around there. So I will include the darts on the back piece of the skirt. And that's all about it. And I cut my fabric. But you include your darts after you must have cut your fabric. While sewing, that's when you include your dart. But I'm just showing you, after you must have cut your fabric and you've included your dart, this is what it's going to look like. So for the straight skirt, this is what the straight skirt is going to look like for both front and back piece. And for the fitted skirt, this is what the fitted skirt is. You can see the straight skirt is actually very, very, very straight, while the pencil skirt, or rather the fitted skirt, this is what the fitted skirt is going to look like. You can see the difference that this is actually looking fit. You can decide to incorporate your flay into your pencil skirt. Assuming this is the pencil skirt and I decide to place the flay around the pencil skirt, I could decide to insert my flay and have something like this at the top part of my skirt. I could decide to also take this flay and place it at the hem of the skirt. I'll have another design. I could decide to also take this flay and place it this way. Let me just show you that. I could decide to play with my flay this way, and I'll also have a design like this. I could decide to insert the gather. If you look at the teaching on gather, the session on gathered skirt, I could decide to insert the gathers around here, around the waistline, and also this other way.